Welcome back to Around the Table with Stacy Smith. We're talking about politics. We've talked a little presidential. We've talked a little city. We've talked a little senatorial. But let's go back to the presidential side for a moment. According to the Washington Post, despite his efforts by his advisors, former President Donald Trump is having problems getting the Republican Party faithful in South Carolina to either endorse him or to attend his first campaign swing for his 2024 presidential bid. Now, part of the reason, of course, is that South Carolina has two people who also want to become president of the United States. So, Keith, as a political advisor, how do you view this? Is this a problem for the former president?
Well, at a time when the former president is seemingly in survival mode, and he is desperately trying to remain relevant in the upcoming election, you scratch your head. I don't get it. Why would you plan a swing through a state like South Carolina, where you're absolutely going to show your vulnerability, especially with the fact, as you introduced this question, you have Nikki Haley, who is a serious contender next year. And a lot of people really want their Senator Tim Scott to enter the fray. So you have two residents of South Carolina who are going to be bumping at your heels. Why you'd start your first entree in a state like that really highlights your vulnerability and doesn't strengthen you, I can't answer it. I don't get it.
You remember the Four Seasons Landscaping Center press conference? This reminds me of that. This is one of those things.
Right.
Mistake, and nobody wants to say it was a mistake, and so they're going to try to go straight ahead.
He's in absolute denial of it.
It makes no sense.
He's in absolute denial of the reality of the situation right now, despite, I'm sure, people around him trying to talk him off this and be honest with himself. That just makes him double, triple, and quadruple down on his delusion. Yep. So he will show up and he will do this, and there will be like maybe 3 people there, counting staff, and the pictures will go viral. And then it will be someone else's fault. Same thing out of this narcissistic playbook that we're getting used to.
Well, and Jim, that's the word. It's narcissism, at its ultimate. He has blinders on. He thinks he can go in there. He remembers what it was like in there before. But this is very different because the two candidates provide diversity to the Republican Party that he cannot provide. He provides what happened in the past and all of the luggage that he carries with him for everything that happened. This provides a new start with South Carolinians in South Carolina. But he doesn't take people's advice. We know that, and he's going to continue to do it.
If they told him they thought it was a great idea, he might cancel it.
Yeah. Where would or should he go to start his campaign swing then?
Nowhere.
No, I know you don't want him, but if you had to advise him, where would, he lives in Florida. DeSantis is there, and DeSantis is extremely popular. New York.
Listen, he's vulnerable. You don't even look at what the first primaries or the first caucuses are. You just look at where do you have the best organization. You just want to show you're popular and strong and people like you. So we're so far away from it. I mean, in the end, we start early on everything. But we're still a year away from the first caucus. Really, what he has to look like is he's still for real and is still popular. I don't care if it's Montana. I don't care if it's Nebraska. Find a place where the organization stands with you that you can get a rally together and the optics will help you. But going to a place like South Carolina, I'm scratching my head. He's digging his own grave.
Keith, I am sure somebody with your savvy has probably said to him exactly what you just said to us and to the viewers. That is spot on. But that's always been his problem. That's exactly what he should do, but he will not do it. And now he'll begin to define his own narrative of being a has-been.
All right, we have about 2 minutes or so to go. I'm going to flip the table here just a little bit and say that President Biden's approval ratings are still way down. They went up for a little while, but they're back down again, especially after the document issue has come to light. Do you guys still feel, on the Democratic side especially, that he will be your nominee?
Harry Truman. The only poll Harry Truman was running ahead in was the movie popcorn poll. Look what he did.
I agree. And I've read polls that said his numbers have not gone down. So it depends on what one you read, but I agree with the professor. The only poll that matters is what happens in November. And again, he won that race as much as Donald Trump lost it. And if Donald Trump, as we expect, will be the GOP front runner, if he makes it that far, as the professor hopes for, and as many of us wish for, and Joe Biden chooses to go again, we'll see the same results as we saw in 2020.
Hey guys, I'm still in my 50s. Who's Harry Truman?
Oh.
You love Harry Truman, Keith. I know that.
I do love him.
I know you do.
Stacey
I
has
do
a
love
great
him. He's a
story
great
about
story.
Harry Truman.
We all love Harry Truman. Come on.
All right, guys, thanks so much. That does it for this edition of Around the Table with Stacy Smith. I'm going to bring you all back into the picture here. And I just want to thank once again Keith Schmidt, Governor Tom Corbett, Jim Byrne, and Joe Mystic for joining us. And I hope that you join us again for the next edition of Around the Table with Stacy Smith.
Thank you.